have Nina. We are missing a person right now.
Man down.
So earlier, Tyler was like, I think I'm going to go get a Thai massage. And I was like, okay, well, we got the podcast at 1:30. He's like, yeah, no problem. And then I'm looking at the time. He's not here.
No.
And I just want to call out that last week he was texting me, where are you? And I was like, I'm downstairs getting you a coffee. I'll be up in 2 minutes. I'm only 2 minutes late. And then this week he's late because he's getting a massage. So we were like, we're going to start the podcast without him.
Prankster energy.
He's going to come in and we're going to be like, yeah, we're on the air. And we're rolling. Join us in this little prank. We actually, Nina and I love doing this shit to Tyler. This is like real energy that we have. And so when I discovered that we could start the podcast without him, I was like tracking him on my map and I was like, oh shit, we got to get up there.
There may have been some
so
running
involved. So I
involved.
left the coffee shop downstairs. I texted him, can you please get the drinks for everybody? And then he just texted right now, sorry, I'm a little behind. My massage went over 13 minutes. First of all, who goes over in a massage?
I don't know, but we should get him like a massage-proof watch.
No, but I mean like massages usually are cut a few minutes early. Like I'm saying I want that massage therapist.
We should book an appointment with her, yeah.
So anyway, he then said, I forgot my keys, so I'll text when I'm outside. So let's just kind of wait this out for a few minutes. And I know we're filming this, so I don't know if we can get an angle of Tyler. Oh, Connor's on it.
He just texted. Is he here?
Did he text me?
Connor's going for it. Connor is our
But someone's got to let him in the building.
Connor's our fearless guy behind the scenes. We have a couple other friends here, Mitch and Maybe. They're helping us out. Thank you guys. Amazing team. Helping us with our prank today.
He kills me. Like, you can love him to pieces, clearly, but you can never get a hold of this person.
Impossible. Truly.
Remember the time he was on the way back from San Francisco in the car? And we I don't remember what it was, so it couldn't have been an emergency, but there was a little urgency of like, oh, we got to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, maybe he left his phone on the airplane. We're texting, we're calling. I remember there was a time sensitivity situation happening. And then I'm looking on the Find Friends, which maybe that shouldn't exist because then it actually just heightens your anxiety. And I'm like watching him travel back from the airport, no phone. So I'm thinking...
He's just staring out the window for like an hour and a half.
He passed out in the car. There was a medical emergency.
The Uber driver kidnapped him.
You were like, oh, let's go look and see. Like, we were worried. And then he was like, oh, no, sorry. I was just on my computer. I didn't notice. I'm like, if I was in a car for 90 minutes in the back seat...
Not driving.
I'd be on my phone.
The whole time. That's actually the only thing I do in the back of an Uber.
Gotta love him. But I just am like, dude, I want to get him an Apple Watch so bad.
Put it on his ankle, like an ankle bracelet?
Because you can never get a hold of him.
No, it's impossible.
I mean...
It's impossible.
You've been working with us for how many years now? And it's like, it's impossible to get in touch with him.
4 or 5 years now. And literally he will text me. And in the same minute on the screen of my phone, I will respond to him. He's in the wind. He's a complete ghost at this point.
What is
I don't know.
about?
It's actually kind of a skill. I'm sort of impressed.
Maybe we're too addicted to our phones or something. Because he's not on social media either.
Oh, that's a good point. What does he use his phone for?
I have no idea.
What does it do? It's just a clock. He just uses it to call people?
What does he use the phone for?
That's the first question we're going to ask him when he gets here, if he gets here.
Well, he's not calling people because we're telling you we can't get in touch with him, Nina.
It's not calling us, I guess we should say. I heard something.
Oh, no. Did he just say he got 2 Thai massages?
I mean, he orders 3 entrees at a restaurant, so 2 Thai massages doesn't surprise me.
Look who's finally here. We are actually on the air.
We're live.
Waiting for you.
Are we on live right now?
Yes, we are.
I don't know whose drink is whose.
Welcome.
I have a coffee order for Katie.
Look at
me
this.
just
Oh
say
my
that
God.
Oh, Nina
goodness.
got a biscuit.
Oh, yeah, I got a biscuit.
And a biscuit.
Ooh, girl, I
This
forgot
is
you
now
got that.
this is now a mukbang
And
video,
then
which
what
is
else?
honestly.
What's
That
this?
one's...
I think that's mine.
This is yours?
Oh, yeah, a bowl of
Thank
soul.
you.
Did you order me this? Is that what's going on?
I got you a decaf pour
Oh
over,
my gosh.
yes.
We'll have to edit this part
I'm
out. Everyone's
sorry.
like, who cares?
The iced ones are for the crew, the amazing crew, and mine's that iced coffee.
This nice one?
We will do anything
you.
for a
There we
prank,
go.
so
All right.
sorry to our listeners. This
Sorry
is
that you had to sit through this, but like, You look very relaxed.
Yeah, how do you
I
feel?
am really relaxed.
I was
right
kind
now.
of hoping for more of the, like, imprint of the table on your face.
Table imprint face.
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of sad about that,
Classic.
actually. He's here. He made it. Are you
Okay.
extra looby? Ooh,
No, I can go wipe
That
off
would
right
be
there.
a weird sound clip.
Okay.
extra looby. Maybe
Okay.
we'll edit that out, too.
So
Thanks, guys.
we're going to just say welcome,
Welcome.
settle in, get closer to the mic. And we want to start the podcast by asking, what do you use your cell phone for?
What do I use my
because
cell phone
we
for?
have
We
discovered.
realized something while you were gone.
You look very foggy. You don't answer the calls or texts. You're not on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook,
Like,
Twitter.
is it a clock?
You're not on LinkedIn.
You're
You don't
not
even have a LinkedIn login, even though you have a LinkedIn profile. What's happening on the cell phone?
What do you use it for?
Yeah, I'm as your wife, I genuinely could not answer the question.
This is a great mystery.
It's a
I
good
mean, your
mystery.
email, Slack.
Well, hopefully I can drop a little nugget here that might actually
Maybe
help
Maybe
some
this is
people.
gonna help some
Maybe we
people.
can help some people. So, I have a really addictive personality, and a great example of that personality is I remember I was on
Thigh
Facebook
massages.
a while ago. I was on time massage. I was on Facebook a while ago, and I was corresponding with some people in a community that we had, and I was trying to answer all their questions. And I thought to myself, I'm gonna answer all their questions. And first it was like 10, and then it was like 50. And then I logged in one day, and it said 1,000 messages to you. And I was like, I can't do this. And I had this moment at that point saying, like, I don't want to spend my days and spend my time on my phone.
yeah,
right?
I want to.
I want to spend it as little as possible. That's fine. Listen, this is my preference.
Different strokes,
My-
everybody.
my
I'm sorry, I
preference.
love it.
But you know, to me, the only non-renewable resource is your time, right? So we all chase things. We chase success and money and this and that, but time to me is the most important thing. And I find that the phone tends to steal away a lot more of people's time than they're
Okay.
even aware of.
Okay, so what I'd like to
So
do.
you use it for not using it is the answer.
I listen to podcasts.
It's a
and
collector's
books.
item,
Okay.
everybody.
And no, I think people should be aware of the reality that, like, I don't know, I'm gonna go crazy here, but one day we're all gonna die.
No, here
And
we go.
when
Here we go.
and when that happens, are you gonna look back on your life and say, I wish I spent more time
How
on
do
my
you?
cell phone?
Maybe.
How do you?
Instagram's
Does
dope.
anybody know? Does anybody know how to look and see? You know how it tells you the time that you spend on your phone?
Screen time right there.
Oh, in front of my face.
It's the one that's right in front of your
So
face.
I just want to. Let's look at our daily. Do you have your phone?
I don't have my phone on me.
Girl, where is it?
I'm living that phone-free lifestyle right now.
I don't know
It's
what
on the
screen
table
time is
to the,
either.
to the
What
left
table?
out there. Out by my purse.
Does someone want to grab Nina's phone?
Sorry, team.
I'm
This
just.
is a really
I just want.
interactive
I just. This
episode
is a.
today.
This is a study to see.
Mine's gonna be the worst by far. I'm just
Just
telling
to
everyone
see,
that.
like, are you really on your phone a lot less because you're not on social media?
He's
Because
texting
you're
right
not
now.
gonna come in here. You're not
No, I'm
gonna come
looking
into
for
the
screen time.
podcast late.
Hi,
Thank
Connor,
you, Connor.
thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Connor. You're not gonna come into the podcast late and then like lecture us how we're like on social media. And I just want to see.
Uh-oh, mine's.
Do you have your daily average? Girl, we are so close.
It's probably because we're talking to each other. Wow, we are really
What are you
close.
guys at? Tell me what yours are at.
No,
Let's
you
reveal
tell.
it.
Wait,
no,
no.
you go
No,
first.
I'll go last.
No.
No, I showed up last.
No,
I'll
no.
go last. I'll
Who
wait.
on this team votes that Tyler goes first? Oh, everyone.
Oh,
Everyone.
that was unanimous.
Sorry.
Okay, so my daily average is 5 hours and 7 minutes. Now, I do want to say something about that.
Nope. No excuses.
right.
We just say the time.
No, I
Nina?
want to say something about that, right?
This is literally because we talk to each other.
A huge amount of this is listening to books and podcasts.
Wow.
We don't. You can't. I mean, does it tell? It might tell you. Break it down. Break the
What's
data
yours?
down.
What are you guys? Is that
They're identical.
554?
554.
See, I actually use it about the
554
same as you,
for
just
both
for
of
different
us.
reasons, right?
Don't say we don't listen to books
I'm-
or podcasts.
That's all I listen to is books and podcasts.
What if he's just listening
kidding.
to his own podcast over and over again?
That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do.
That was a fun little experiment, everyone. Thanks for coming down that rabbit hole with us.
Hey, but maybe you should take a look at your screen time and look through it and take a little examination
Oh,
of how
dear.
you're allocating your
This
time.
actually brings me to an interesting
Because
point.
one day
Go
you
for it, Nina.
might die
Oh my God.
and regret it.
So ominous much. So thinking about like doing something frequently all the time and having it be not necessarily a good thing is I went camping last weekend and I didn't have a mirror the whole time, right? We were camping, we didn't have our phone, we didn't have anything. We were just outside in a tent. That's how camping works, in case anyone's wondering. And I was like, I feel so good. I'm having such a fun time. Like, I like put on my swimsuit and got in the water and put on my sunscreen. Like, just like the vibes were just very like immaculate. And I realized like I haven't looked in the mirror. I haven't looked at Instagram. I haven't put on makeup or
Oh, 'cause you
taken
didn't
off
have
makeup.
self-service?
We had nothing. Yeah, we're just,
Ooh, girl, your daily average went down.
I told you it was probably the highest. Yeah, probably like 9 hours a week. But the point being though is that, like,
a day, by the way.
Oh, whatever. You know math. You know me and math. We don't. Let's not talk about that. But the point is that, like, I realized, you know, I look at my own reflection or at myself in a picture or on Zoom, for crying out loud. God, I'm so done looking at my own face on Zoom. Do you guys look at the other people or do you look at yourself?
I mean, you're always like checking in to make sure you don't have like something in your teeth.
I watch myself the whole time.
So I turn it to gallery view because I'm usually doing like a coaching thing or something like that.
That's
And I
a
just
guy
try to look
thing.
at each person.
Girls are like, what do I look like when I make that
call
sound?
you out a little bit. You're
What?
looking at yourself, bro, once in a while.
No,
Everybody does.
here's the thing. I'll totally admit that that's my propensity is to look at myself. I think everybody has a natural tendency to
Yeah, you
want to
just
look
like,
at
oh,
themselves.
What am I
And then
doing?
I just go,
I think it's
no, I'm
human
going to look at
nature.
the people.
Oh yeah, no, I look at myself. Like you walk by a window and you're like, that's me. And like I
I
realized,
know.
like, when we look at something over and over and over again, and this is kind of the point I wanted to come to, when we look at something repeatedly every day, all day, blah blah blah, like our own face or our own body, it is absolutely normal that you find a problem.
But I also didn't even think about that until right now, that everyone working remotely has made us look at ourselves more because we're on Zoom.
Yeah.
Right. You're in a
I
conference
didn't even
room.
think about
I mean, I
that.
You
turn
never
the-
look at yourself, right? But you're in Zoom. You're just staring at your face all day long.
I'm turning my camera off
Zoom
from now on.
fatigue. I know, this is 2022, but it's
It's
still
an
a thing.
interesting thing that you mentioned. That I had an experience a long time ago. I used to have kind of acne, and I would like pick at it a lot more. And I remember when I went to a place that had no mirror, and all of a sudden I just stopped touching my face.
skin
Like,
probably got
stopped touching-
better.
My skin got so much better, right? Because I just wouldn't like, oh, look at that little thing right there, and then get
Fixate.
after it, right? So I don't know. I mean, like, how does this relate to? How does
Wild
this relate to what
story
people
to
should do,
share.
you know?
Move to the forest, get rid of everything you own.
Yeah.
No, this is not what we're
That
doing
actually
today.
sounds kind of nice to me.
I
right?
mean, wouldn't
But speaking of, when you guys posted some of the videos, we're here for the videos.
oh wow.
The close-ups indicated that we had overcome our body image issues. They were not
Still working on them.
indicative of in progress. So I'm available for less close-ups to our team. Like they were, I was like, there's my nose hair.
I'm still available for the close-ups as long as we do the Wayne's World extreme close-up. Like that's my vote personally.
So I want to give a little backstory today because I actually feel a little bit bad. Just a tiny
Confession
bit.
incoming.
So Nina called me on my way over here and she's like, I want to chat for a second. Like, love the podcast, listen to all of them. And I just feel like it lacks a little bit of us. It's polished and it's great. I'm like, it's polished. I kind of swear a lot. She was like,
it's not lacking us right now.
No.
I just want to point that out.
she was like,
feels
she
right.
was like, I'm like, well, let's get in. Let's sit down with the content team. Let's make sure we're on the right path. And then I was like,
No,
why don't
let's
we
just prank Tyler.
Let's just, well,
Yeah,
the
here's
prank
the
landed
problem.
on our
That's
You
our
guys know how
solution.
competitive I am, so you're both fucked, right?
Oh!
I sat here for like 15 minutes last time waiting for you to get on.
We
I
would
could have
never.
Oh,
I
it
could have had
was
a
not
gorgeous monologue.
15.
We would never.
It was 16 and a half minutes.
No one wants to listen
I'm
to
just
you for
kidding.
16 minutes.
No way.
No, it's okay to have a good banter. I think it's fun.
But
so.
anyway, I told Nina, I said, let's just talk about it on air. So we were going to have a meeting post the podcast, but welcome to our meeting, content crew.
And every listener who's
And every
listening.
listener. I think that we probably need to be a little less worried and a little bit more relaxed. And so if it seems
Do
like
I look worried and not
I think
relaxed
the
today?
massage really helped though.
the oil
I didn't know
in
what you
your
guys said
hair-
before I got here. How you guys teed it up or
The
something.
oil in your hair
bleary-eyed.
right now is like Nina was like, you know, Katie, I just feel like we're really listening a lot. Like when we really talk, we kind of interrupt each other a lot. It feels nice. It feels caring. It feels,
It felt like a therapy session a little bit.
yeah. And she's like, can we just lighten the mood? I was like, let's just talk about it. Let's just, instead of having the meeting.
You guys know I'm going to try to bring it to something deep
To be
every
fair,
time.
my actual suggestion was that we go to the Spirit Halloween store that opened on our street. We work downtown, and like buy disguises. That was my actual recommendation. So that's on the list of to-dos,
Okay.
by the way.
It's on the to-do list.
Yeah. One time, I told you this. One time, my good friend and I, Stephanie, hi Stephanie,
Oh, this
I love
is
you.
a scary story. Hey,
We
Stephanie.
were going down to San Diego, and she was like, her parents down there, and she's like, we got to prank my parents. I'm like, I'm available for pranks. And she said, well, I'm going to get us a Gumby and Pokey costume. We're going to break into their home.
Don't do that at home, people.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
take
I
advice on
actually
this.
want to
This is a
say, like,
horrible
this is
idea.
not a good idea because,
Yeah. That's the quickest way to get a shotgun to you.
yeah, I feel like this was, like, in my early
But
20s.
this is California,
maybe.
so in California, maybe
Yeah,
not
yeah,
as much.
Yeah.
It was, like, maybe it was in my early 20s before my brain was fully developed. Anyway, So we get down there, we put the costumes on, we break into their home, and then we walk into the living room in full, like you couldn't see our faces. We were in the costumes.
I'm upset.
And I feel so bad. Like I feel like I owe them an apology.
Were you Gumby or Pokey? That's the first question.
Pokey.
I think I was Pokey.
I think you look good in orange, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so we decided, Nina and I were just talking. We were like, let's just be a little bit more us and feel a little less worried.
Well, speaking of that, I just got a glance of myself in the reflection over here, and
Your
my
hair
hair is all
is-
coming down all weird like this.
Your hair's greasy.
It's
right
greasy. Well, I want to
like
say
an
something
Elvis
about that
vibe.
since we were talking about this stuff. So like, I feel like this is something I just want to share. I think it's great. Like,
I'm scared.
I love Thai massages. I like deep tissue massages. I
This
like
is an
that kind of
advertisement.
stuff. Now I want to tell people why though, right?
Okay.
This is really important, right? I need a lot of like physical touch. I do a lot of physical activity. I need to have my muscles worked out in order to feel like I don't get all tightened up both physically, mentally, and emotionally. And when I have those Thai massages consistently or any type of deep tissue work, even if it's just like a foam roller or some sort of ball or something like that I do on myself,
Where is this
it
going?
just makes me feel so much better. And I just wanted to say that because I think that a lot of people out there don't take the time to ask themselves the question, what makes me feel better? What makes me feel connected to me? What are the things that make me feel like I'm taking care of me? And actually prioritize that in their life, right? And maybe we could touch on this. Why was it so hard for you to do that? Like, because for me, as a man in the world, we're taught like, go after it and go do these things and blah, blah, blah. And we've talked about this a lot, right? As a woman in the world, you're taught to like take care of your kids and take care of your husband and be a good wife and now have a great career and blah, blah, blah. It's so much pressure on women these days to show up for so many different things. And what I've noticed in like the growth that you've gone under is it's been really difficult for you to crack that and say, hold up, I got to show up for me. Like I don't feel guilt when I go get a Thai massage on a Friday, while you guys are waiting here for me to do the podcast.
We're waiting on air.
I'm so
yes.
uptight that Thai massages make it worse.
Do they?
It just hurts the whole time. I'm
Well,
like,
pick
ow,
your
ow,
own
ow.
pick your own
For
self-care,
sure.
right?
Well,
I'm curious though. I think it's an important topic
I
to
think
talk
the beautiful
about.
thing too about what you're saying about getting like the self-care and the physical, manifestation of that is that like it kind of brings us back to the point of like doing something nice for your body that isn't like a punishment or whatever. Like you're celebrating your body. It feels good. Like feeling good in your body. Like how can we do more activities that make us feel good in our corporeal form? It's a hard
Corporeal?
word. Corporeal.
What does that mean?
Corporeal. It means like body. Just a really fancy word for body.
Nina's a walking dictionary, by the way. It's really
Well,
interesting.
she's actually, when you were camping and I had a minor medical emergency and I couldn't get in touch with you, I was like, I guess I have to go to my real doctor.
I'll have to create an on-call number.
You two and Dr. Google need to like
And
calm down.
I follow
Dr.
this.
Gooby.
That's like at least an hour of your daily average is Dr. Google.
I follow this woman who's like about health anxiety, and I have so much health anxiety. Like I'm always like, oh no, what's wrong with me? And she's like, these are the tips for health anxiety.
Don't own an iPhone.
It's like, do not Google your disease that you think you have.
Don't ask your friends.
Don't ask your friends for reassurance, because it actually just like she went over like 5 things, and I was like, that's the actual list in order that I do when I have health anxiety. And then
You told me.
No.
You told me this. You're like, I
do
follow
it.
this person about health anxiety, and here's the things not to do. And then like 15 minutes later, you're like, oh my God, what is this thing right here? Oh my, I'm Googling it. I was like, you're gonna be fine. I was like,
I'm
did
just
you
gonna share with
not
people
take the
what
advice?
happened. I'm gonna share. I'm turning red. I had a bug bite on my boob.
It was a bug bite.
And I thought I got some terrible form of breast cancer. You're as a woman, you are like any little thing, you're like, go to the doctor, you have breast cancer. Like it freaks you out. It's like the awareness is good because it helps people get intervention or diagnosis like early. But for people like Nina and I, that like those campaigns to make people aware, that does not help us. So I literally took a picture and sent it to Nina, and it's like sent as text message or not delivered. And I was like, she didn't tell me that she wasn't going to have service when she was camping. And so then
I answered you as soon as I came back into service.
and so she was
First
like,
order of
what's
business.
going on?
Call me.
Because I had watched that video from the lady with health anxiety, I don't know, 2 hours before I noticed the bug bite. And then I went down my list of 5 things. I was
That
like, that
probably
is such good
created
information. I'm
the
so
issue.
glad. And
Ignore. Execute list.
No, but it was funny because I didn't even notice I was like doing that.
Oh,
I
man.
just did it, and then I was like, you can give this 24 hours and see what happens. So I did not message my doctor. I waited 24 hours and it totally went away, and I laughed at myself. But
That's amazing.
Okay, I want to
Get back to
I
what
want to
you
reel
were
us back
actually-
in because I'm genuinely
you
curious.
can never
about it.
leave again. That was
No.
the moral
Yeah.
of that story.
Don't worry.
No, but seriously, like, I think that a lot of people have a hard time taking care of themselves because they feel guilty, they feel shameful, they feel, I don't know, maybe like a failure
Undeserving.
from past, undeserving. Yeah, like maybe you can, either one of you can touch on that. I know you've struggled with this a lot. So
I mean, I still do.
like, do you remember when
Like
you're
today, when you said, "Do you want me to cancel my morning because I don't have to go to a massage and I can handle Macy and you can go do something for yourself?" And I was like, "No, thank you so much for the offer. I'll take Macy."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did today.
Did you regret that decision now that I'm so relaxed and my hair's so greasy?
That could have been you.
It could have been you. You could have been walking in late and getting roasted right now.
Could have been you. You know, I don't know if I regret it or not. I know because then we wouldn't have been able to prank you.
Macy's
Yeah.
so cute.
And our little girl is adorable. No, I'm sorry. I just really want to touch on this. Like maybe like you've told me the story about you and your other friend who used to go to the grocery store together as your self-care time. Like, do you want to talk about that and the progress that you made?
That's how we used to hang out.
Yeah.
Is that me and my friend would meet on Sundays at the grocery store. We would have meals that we needed to purchase to meal prep for our families for the week. And it wasn't just like casually walking to the grocery, like through the aisles. It was, we left the children at home with our partners, our husbands. And so we had to hurry because heaven forbid we left them in the care of their other parent while we went grocery shopping for them. And so we would, I kid you not, we probably look like maniacs. We would be like kind of grabbing things off of the aisles while we were trying to focus in on the conversation, and we would just be speeding through there. And I feel sad for that version of myself because that's how we hung out. Like, that's how we hung out. That was the only time we loved to hang out with each other, and it was the only like reason we could give ourselves like as an excuse to be able to hang out together.
So help me understand how you got from there. All right. So I just want to recap real quick. Your self-care time was briskly going through the grocery store
Speed
with
shopping.
your girlfriend
You should
because
be on guys' grocery games.
yeah, because you were so
Oh, I
worried.
would win. I would win.
Yeah, grocery, whatever, that'd be kill. How did you go from there to going on a trip to France with this friend for a week?
I mean,
And
first of all, that
enjoying
was
yourself.
almost 10 years ago that we would do that kind
No,
of
I just really want the process because I feel like so many people
Well,
don't even do a workout because they don't feel like they
I
can take the
know.
time away from their kids or whatever. So I think it's so important to talk about.
Well,
And I can't just do pure banter. I got to get some depth in here.
I'm leaving.
Nina, you just here's the mic by yourself. No, it's not a formula. It's everyone is different, but it was just sort of maybe a relentless pursuit of trying to find out why I do things. So I did a number of things. I had a therapist. I did workshops on inner child healing stuff. I did seminars, books. I was going through it with my friend at the time because it's like when you have a kid, your identity completely changes, and then you feel this like great sense of obligation, and you don't know how to have you, and you don't know how to have be a mom. It's like, how do you do both? And so I think it was just the relentless pursuit of something doesn't feel quite right inside, and I want
You feel
to
constantly burned out.
Well,
right?
it was beyond that. It was like something
Self-betrayal.
inside, like all the pieces were there, right? Like from the outside looking in, everything's looked right. But the inside, there was just always something that was kind of nagging at me. Like, you don't quite have, this is not peace. This is not serenity. This is not.
And I'm not inside your mind, obviously, but like I think there's a lot of self-judgment there. I think everybody has a lot of self-judgment, but I think when we have a hard time showing up for ourselves, there's this guilt and this maybe some shame or undeservedness or self-judgment. It all comes across as like, oh, I shouldn't do that because I need to do this and this and this and this and this.
Well, yeah, and I used to like, okay, you got to do your exercise routine because it was definitely a form of punishment. There was no enjoyment in it. So I think it was just, like I said, like a relentless pursuit of something inside doesn't feel quite right. And I know that if I keep trying to understand what that is, that maybe I'll get to a different understanding. And I have to also sit with, like, that is kind of life and that is kind of the journey. And I think all we can do is continue to show up for that little voice inside.
Yeah.
And so I also have to recognize at this point that, like, that journey will probably be our whole life. It's never really
Never
decided.
ending.
It's never really, like, you've never really, oh, I finally made it to the finish line. Like, I'm at the end of the Candyland board. That's like, I don't think that's, and not from my experience so far. If anyone has figured that out, if you want to send me an email, that's great. But I don't know. It's a process. And I think that it is hard, especially for women, if you have been raised in an environment where women are taught to be the caretaker, then you just lose yourself in being a caretaker.
I was going to comment on that actually about one of the things I think I notice around women learning to do a better job of taking care of themselves and separating from, like, I'm just a mom and I'm just this or whatever, is who they spend time with. Like, if you watch someone do something that you think is normal and then you're like, well, that's what they're doing and this is what I'm doing and that's the same thing,
Your circle of
you
influence.
don't really even realize there's another option.
Yeah.
And this is not the same experience. I don't have children, but
You kind of do because you're at my house
I
every
mean,
day.
they're basically my kids, right? But I wish. They're so sweet. But one time, actually, I think it was you and I who were talking, and we were talking about eating food and something like that. And, you know, you and I have our own stuff around, like, self-control and addictive personalities. And
We love food.
I love food so much. It's my snack for later. But
Feel free to eat it at any time. I just don't want to hold you back.
But what I was going to say, though, is that I was eating something. I don't remember what. And there was, like, some of it left or something. And I was like, I got to finish it, you know. And you were like, are you full or are you hungry? You know, whatever. And I was like, well, I don't want it to, like, go in the garbage. And you were like, so are you the trash can? And I was like, whoa, that's, like, really?
Oh,
but
God.
it was intense in the moment, of course. And, like, you know, you could be like, well, how dare you? Whatever.
said that to her?
But I really did, like, it was so shocking that I did get some, like, little level of value out of it, because sometimes I'm like, well, I can't throw this away because I paid for it or whatever. And, like, I feel like I have to eat the food or I have to do the thing because I said I would or whatever. And, like, I think we make these little contracts and these little promises in our head that, like, are from just repeated behavior. Like, right, I grew up with a mom who was like, we don't have a lot of money, so when I make you dinner, like, you need to eat it.
Yeah.
And
You have a
so
belief
even though
system.
I can afford the food I eat today, like, I have this belief system that, like, I can't waste it. And that, like, if I throw it away, that I'm doing something wrong and bad. But, like, I don't feel hungry. I don't need to eat any more of it, so it's okay to throw it away. But, like, it's in my head so deep. And I think those behaviors are in our head so deep that you really do have to kind of just, like, left foot, right foot your way out of the forest until you finally see the clearing. And it takes a long time.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the weird
It's
part
really
about
just
that.
one day at a time, and
One
you
day
put
at a
all
time, for
those,
sure.
like,
10
days
minutes.
together. Yeah.
The weird part of that to me is, like, when I think back on the growth that I've gone through in my life, when you're acting out of, like, conditioning and what you were told and what you were taught, you're unaware of it.
Yeah.
You're unaware of it until you're aware of it. And then when you're aware of it and you have this new sense of self, oh, wow, like, I can't believe I used to do that. And then maybe, like, you peel back a couple more layers and you change again. Oh, I can't believe I used to do that. Now I have this better sense of self. And eventually you do it enough times where you start to go, maybe I'm nobody. I
Maybe
don't
I
even
should be-
know. Maybe I
yeah.
should just be curious and, like, enjoy the journey to some degree, right? Instead
And
of
then it
feeling
makes
like,
you think about, if I was unaware about that, I think I said this last time,
Yeah.
then what am I unaware about now?
right,
Yeah.
right, totally.
It's endless. Like you said, we don't graduate.
But I think it's important to consider, right? Like, in your life when you're making decisions, to sit in it and go, like, does this feel right? That's that little voice that you were talking about, and that's something that's hard for people to do, is get really in touch deep, right? Instead of just being, like, up here in their minds, like, is this right? Well, yes, it's right because my mom did this and my dad did this and my society told me this, right? And stop that and try to get those voices out of your head. And go a little deeper and take a couple deep breaths and say, is this right? And really feel
Well, I
whether
feel
it's
like
right or
your
not.
mind
you know?
is really loud. And
Yeah.
I personally think that your soul's a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
Like, all
you
of
gotta
that,
turn the mind down to hear
all
the soul.
of that, that little voice inside. I remember it wasn't a big voice. It was a little, like, oh,
Your intuition,
I'm
perhaps.
glad that the check boxes have been checked for other people looking at my life, but man, it's not quite what I was like. I don't have the sense of inner peace or the thing that I thought I would feel being here. And so I just kept listening to that, and I'm still having to listen to that, and I still ignore it all the time. This morning I ignored it.
I have a little reminder on my phone, actually. This is one of my little tricks I use to kind of tap into that quieter voice and all that is every day in the middle of the day, because I think we run around, you know, sometimes I meditate in the morning or I, like, have some quiet time at night. Those are usually times where I have more of that space to check in with myself. But in the afternoon, you're at work and you're running around, maybe you have your kids. I have a little reminder on my phone that pings me and says, how do you feel what do you need? And it takes 1 second, and I'm like, oh, I need a glass of water. Oh, I really need to stretch and touch my toes. Oh, I need to do something. And it's usually like little tiny things. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm really hungry. I didn't even think about the fact that I was really hungry. But that little act has helped me so much in the last like year I've been doing it, because normally that would never have occurred to me, even check in with my physical body. I'm in my brain all day. You're in your brain. You're at work. You're online, whatever. And to be like, whoa, like what does my body need right now?
It's really easy to finish the day and not even know where it went to some degree. And I think that takes us kind of back to that like self-care thing. Like you've got to choose what you want to do out of your conscious self, or the most conscious version of yourself you can be right now. You got to say, here's what I think will make me feel better. Not just about myself, but in my own body.
Well,
And then do it. And then if it doesn't, try something else and repeat that process.
That, you know, when you're talking about yourself and how like, oh, I have no guilt or any of this, and then you're talking about me and you're like, oh my gosh, you have so much guilt, you can't take care of yourself. I also think that you can be extreme in anything. And so we won't talk about how many Thai massages you've had in the last 2 weeks, because I feel like you might be a little embarrassed. But I think that it's important, especially in a relationship dynamic. I think that you can be an example to me of letting go of that, and I can be an example to you of
being guilty.
Not guilty.
Balance.
No, I'm just
Balance.
kidding. I'm
But
kidding.
I do bring more mindfulness to the collective unit and the collective whole around us, and sometimes, you know, that's an important thing. So I think it's not about shutting out the parts of us that want to care for other. It's not I feel like every time we talk about these things, people want to polarize it. It's not about that. It's about finding space for you, but also, in my opinion,
not neglecting the things
like,
around you.
and then like not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it's a dance. And
Well, let me just remind you both that you could have had the Thai massage today when I called you up and said, hey, I canceled a bunch of stuff and I can take Macy and you can go for it. So, you know.
Well, maybe Nina and I are going to leave after this and get a Thai massage.
It's
and
time.
You can.
It's
It's
time.
Friday.
Well, Nina doesn't want
Nina
one.
doesn't want one, though.
I actually,
Like,
yeah.
a very gentle one with bird feathers.
Maybe if I got some like aspirin first or something. They always
do.
hurt me.
They do hurt, but they.
Yeah.
And then I do this thing in the massage
Oh, God. Here we go. Here's another not
Oh,
advocating for
no.
self. Here we go.
where I'm like, if it hurts, I'm going to tell them that it hurts.
Oh no, I don't. I just suffer.
Yeah. And then I do this thing where I'm like, oh, it's starting to hurt. And then I go, if I count to 5 and it still hurts, then I will tell them. And then I get to 5 and I go, well, I really could probably handle it to 10.
It's gonna be
So
fine.
and then I slow the counting down. 6.
This is literally like why they don't
7.
medicate.
That's what's going through your head?
No, but this
when
is
you're on a
Absolutely
table?
in the massage.
This is
Oh my
why they
God.
don't medicate women to like get IUDs placed, because we're like, it's fine, I'll just suffer, it'll be awful, and like maybe I'll black out from the pain, but that's normal, it's not a big deal. Like if guys were
I got an
getting
IUD
placed-
and I did almost pass out.
no, you called me crying.
They had to bring 2 doctors in, and they're like, I'm like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm here. Like, but they laid me, I almost passed out.
No, that's really common, unfortunately.
Give us a medication.
So anyway, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, this is a podcast to promote women getting medication for IUD.
Yeah, you can actually, in case anyone's listening who wants to get an IUD placed, I think they're great. But you can actually advocate for them to medicate you so you won't feel any pain. So that's a thing you can do. You have to pressure your doctors and they will listen, but it just requires a lot of self-advocation, which I have a hard time with. But
So
you can do it.
I just want
Advocacy.
to. I just
like
want
this
to
topic.
reiterate that our listeners now know I had a bug bite on my breast
And an IUD.
and my IUD experience. So. Before this, you asked us to be more real.
I think
and
I got my
I
wish.
think you got your wish, Nina. People are going to
Apologies
be like,
to anyone else.
what episode are we on? 3? People are going to
Yeah.
be like, what happened? Episode 1 and 2, what happened? What did Katie and Nina do on that day? Because they are wild today. But
Sally.
actually, this is just us.
Yeah. This is the normal
Yeah.
This is the
standard
normal.
things.
But
Yeah.
self-advocacy, that could be I think that's a beautiful topic. And I think it's something that, you know, we advocate for others. And I know you have a lot of experience advocating for children. We advocate for our friends. We had a talk this week. We did a presentation on self-talk.
Oh, God,
And that kind
was
of
rough.
weaves into self-advocacy. But it's such a hard thing to do. I can all day long, like, go to battle for you. Like, oh my God, don't talk about my friend like that. I'll totally kick your ass, you know? But if someone's like, well, Nina's gonna, I'd be like, well, yeah, probably kind
Well,
of
I
true.
think- and this is like really common, right? I watched you too when Katie, when you started really settling into the mission that we have as a company, right? Where we're trying to break toxic weight loss culture. I watched you guys do this for a decade, where you'd sit in front of a mirror, bringing us back to the beginning, and you'd shit all over yourself, and Katie'd be like, "No, girl, you're beautiful. Look at all these amazing things," and you'd be like, "Ugh," and then she'd be like, "Oh my God, look at this part of me," and you'd be like, "No, girl, you're beautiful," and she'd be like, "Ugh."
First
right?
of all, we don't sound like that.
Yeah, you guys don't believe
We
it.
definitely don't sound
I
like
have
that.
recordings that sound exactly like that.
You
so.
have recorded
No, I
us?
don't have a recording.
It was
Oh
a
my God.
lie.
No, but seriously, I think it's really important that I think we touched on this in a different show, but like, how do you show up for your friends in a different way, right? Because self-advocacy to me starts with being taught how to advocate for yourself, right? How many parents sat down and said, you need to learn how to advocate for
No,
yourself?
they tell you, listen to
You need
me,
to learn
I'm
how
the
to
boss.
get in touch with yourself and get in touch with what you need, right? They say this opposite, right? That
Yeah.
do this, otherwise you're going to get in
I
trouble.
know, and you
right?
don't.
And I find myself doing that sometimes. I was doing that the other day when I came home from a work trip, and then Katie was like, whoa, dude,
I mean, our
you're way
friendship
off.
is built off of us
know?
feeling like we're in trouble. So.
I know. I even yesterday got backpacks for the kids, and I really wanted Ellie to pick this one particular backpack because it was more practical. And then she was like, "Oh, I really feel like you're trying to influence me." And I'm like, "Okay."
The problem
I'm
is that
sorry."
we're educating our kids in this, and now they're punking us
I know,
backwards, and
I
we're
know,
like,
they are
okay,
punking us.
get
Double.
whatever backpack you want.
Double-edged sword.
Oh man.
Oh man.
No,
Well,
but how do you show up for your? How do we teach others around us to advocate for themselves?
I don't think
How do we
teach,
show up in a
I don't
different
think
way?
we teach anybody. I think we embody ourselves what we hope will like perpetuate in the world.
No, I'm trying to
So-
give somebody a tool here, damn
Oh.
it.
Well, I
Okay?
think we could talk about the thing we talked about yesterday.
I don't got the tool.
I'm trying to say, hey, what if you listen to this podcast and go out there and use something
I
towards
think
one
we've
of your
lost
friends
all
to
of our
help them
viewers by now. I just
build-
want to point that
This is
out.
my fault.
Everyone's gone.
What I was going to say, though, is that we talked about self-talk yesterday, and we talked about some of the tips you can use to kind of, and I
That's
think that
true.
those do have overlap with self-advocacy as well. But one of
Okay.
them being like the way I speak to Katie versus the way I speak to myself. Like she reminds me, and I remind her, I would never fucking say that about you.
Yeah.
If you said that to me, I wouldn't be your
That's
friend.
what we had said on a different show. Was,
And
was
that-
when your friend says something crappy about themselves, instead of saying, no, you look great, because
Be
that
like,
just falls
"What?"
flat, right? Be like, whoa, why are you talking about yourself like that?
Exactly. And then
Create
also
curiosity into why they're doing that, right?
to choose yourself and to like celebrate, I guess, the times when you do. You know, when we do make time for ourselves or you do sneak away, I'm always like, yes, girl, like I'm so proud of you, like you're killing it, you know, because I think it's important if we're just like, cool, I did it and whatever, and now I'm kind of off the hook and I can not do any self-care for however long, it doesn't get like the same, I don't know, notice that it deserves.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's hard.
Maybe be aware of that internal dialogue that's going on too,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, so awareness is always the first step.
Right.
So I think I wasn't even 35 yet when my therapist said, "You have a really intense inner critic." And I said, pardon? What? What?
Who's that?
Yeah, who's that? And then just the awareness. Even with the awareness, it's still rough. But I feel like any little micro steps of improvements that I've made is stemmed from that day when she called that out to me.
I want to say something. This is like something that I just repeat over and over again. It's dear to my heart. Is you said you found this out when you were like 35, right? And then you still struggle through it, right? And I see so many people want to change kind of who they are or how they show up for themselves. And they get started on it, and then it's like a month later, and they're like, oh, I can't seem to do it. And then they slide back and they give up on these journeys, right? But one thing that I think is so important to mention over and over again is it took you 35 years to get there. Like we all got to have more patience with ourselves. We all got to be a lot more kind to ourselves. Man, it is so hard to be consistent.
Let
with
me
a
be
practice.
critical of my inner critic.
Just
Just let me do it. I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
Well, you talk about something that I think is super helpful and has changed my life in many ways, which is progress goals. Rather than being like, I need to lose this amount of weight or I need to whatever, it's like, hey, today I'm gonna do something kind for myself.
Yeah.
And just like for the day, that's my one goal. And if I can achieve that, then I'll try again tomorrow. And maybe it will work and maybe it won't. But rather than quantifying, well, when I get here, I will have arrived and have success and, you know, I've achieved what I wanted, I can just have the goal for today.
But
And
I
it's
And
so
the
much easier.
problem with a really strong inner critic, it's usually there's a car alarm. It drives me nuts. It's usually associated with like unrealistic goals or perfectionism. And
Right.
so it's like those go really hand in hand. So just also I think being able to have some level of awareness around like I'm just going to let it go. Like when you called me earlier and were like, I feel like we're doing a great job on the podcast, but I feel like we're holding back who we are a little bit, Katie, and we should just be a little bit more ourselves. My initial reaction was, but what will people think? And then you just...
We'll find out. Canceled.
Yeah. But
Maybe don't email us.
yeah, this week we're not accepting emails. But, I promised everyone I'd have an email. I don't have that. Oh, well. Next week.
Probably for the best.
It's probably for the best. The universe showed up for me here. But again, it's just saying, okay, well, what's the worst that could really happen if I made a mistake? Or, so it's kind of almost challenging the inner critic a little bit instead of just saying, okay, I recognize it, I'll try not to be, and then just kind of going, well, what happens if I just show up this way and just not being so worried. I think we're so worried about making so many
mistakes or what people think about us, right? I think that's so true. I think people have so much fear to be authentic or even to check in with themselves.
But even when we started this podcast, you're afraid to be in this podcast.
No, you told me to be afraid to be in the podcast.
I told you to be a little afraid.
You were like, you should be afraid of the podcast. I was like, I'm just me. We'll figure it out.
I'm afraid of the podcast.
No, but like, I think that I said, I didn't say be afraid. I said I want to be mindful that you're a white, fit, successful male coming into a dialogue about toxic weight loss culture and about female body image.
Yeah.
Be mindful.
Yeah.
And then you translated that into, I'm going to sit in the corner and not say anything.
I get it though. Like that'd probably be a hard place to sit.
I do think that you're in a hard position a little bit.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And all I can do is just be as honest and transparent and authentic as I possibly can be. And I'm probably going to say some stupid stuff.
Well, I think
and I'm open and willing to apologize for stupid stuff when I say it.
There's also a difference if you listen to a podcast and somebody says something that's like, like when you're watching social, I mean, you're not, but
he's not even on his phone.
When I'm watching your social media.
When, ooh, a loophole for you.
Ooh, I don't rack up any screen time when I'm watching your TikTok.
But this whole trend around like the like take the microphone away from these men who are like saying like these absurd things or whatever. I know like Joe Rogan's gotten a lot of heat lately and stuff like that. I feel like it's different to have your own personal platform. I was thinking about this today because I was like, why am I feeling nervous about him in this context? First of all, it's not my responsibility. I clearly have my own work to do there. I don't need to worry about how you show up. But I think it's different to have a platform where it's just yours and you're talking about that. Because if you say something here that Nina and I are like we're gonna like challenge it. Do you know what I mean? So I actually think it's healthy and okay
to have a dialogue. Sure.
I feel like as long as we're holding the counterpart to that of like we'll do our best now that the real Katie and Nina are here. We'll do our best to be like curious, but I think we should like lighten up a little bit, and I think it's okay just to be you, and we will just, if challenging topics come up and we're like, that's an interesting perspective, maybe we'll just say it,
Yeah.
So I think we can just rest easy.
I'm honestly not worried. Like I'm comfortable being myself.
That's
in
the
this
massage
world these
talking.
days. That's
Yeah,
the massage. I feel great right now. No, I think that at the end of the day, like you were saying this, like people have a lot of fear, right? And I think that if you take an inventory of your fears, you'll discover how irrational your fears are. Yeah. And almost everybody goes, I have this dream, or I have this calling, or I have this something that's calling me. And they make excuses as to why they're not making progress towards who they want to be. And those excuses are related to their fears. And their fears are related to self-criticism, which they think is coming from outside of themselves, but really it's coming from within themselves.
Well, it is coming from within themselves. But the other thing that was pointed out to me a few years ago is that inner critic is actually the voice of like caregivers and parents when you were growing up.
Sure.
So,
I think what I'm trying to point out more than anything is like this happened to me the other day. You said something to me and it like triggered me really deep. And I was
that
like,
never happens.
That never happens.
Us.
That never happens every 12 hours.
12 hours. That would be a good day.
No, and I think I had this moment, right, where I recognized that what we often do is we get triggered about these parts of ourselves, right? And these parts of ourselves are made when we were younger. And what we want to do with that is if we start to become aware of them, we want to push them away. We want to push them away and push them away and push them away. And what happens when you push something away? It gets louder and louder and louder, and it keeps repeating. And some of the work that I've personally been doing is hearing those triggers, and instead of saying, no, I'm not selfish, look at all these things that I do to be not selfish, is I go, sometimes I'm selfish. There's that selfish person version of me. That's that part of me right there. And you get to look at it and say, I'm going to love and accept you anyways, and I'm just going to, embrace you and accept you as part of me. And then I'm going to go and see how much I can choose kindness and compassion and, showing up for others and things like that instead of selfishness, right? I don't know.
It's like,
I love that.
Pushing it away gives it a bigger platform.
Yeah, it gives it a bigger platform, right?
But there's also a difference, too, between not wanting to acknowledge something, because then sometimes we do have to put ourselves under the microscope and go, wow, this way I show up is not serving me and it's not serving those around me, and I have to take inventory and responsibility of that. So it's a very tricky balance to be like super hard on ourselves to try to evoke behavior and change, and then also maybe choosing to be in denial about something. So it's
I think the important part of that, like the caveat to that basically, is having outside perspectives, because with our self-talk and our inner critics, et cetera, like it's completely unchallenged. No one is in your brain telling you that that's not true about yourself. Like if you say something and you say it enough times, you will believe it.
No, but hold on. I want to challenge that a little bit. Like, to me,
I'm already on Nina's
side. Anytime someone is triggered, it's not because of what the other person did. It's because of how you feel about what the other person did, which is an internal root of that trigger.
But what if that's something that needs to be addressed in yourself, and a behavior that actually would better serve you to evaluate and change?
Oh, I'm not saying don't own and change that. Is that
no? My further point was
are we not arguing about what I think we're arguing about?
Maybe not. My further point was just that when you have a group of people around you that you respect, who have similar goals and intentions as you, who are working and walking along really the same path that you are towards being a more actualized version of yourself, taking better care of yourself, choosing you over other outside circumstances, you have a safe sounding board to challenge those inner critic thoughts, to challenge those things, and to help you if, like, that's the fine line of, like, am I selfish and I have to work on this? Or, like, can I just accept myself as selfish sometimes?
Yeah.
That's what the peanut gallery of safe people, not bullshit people, but safe people, like you guys in my life, who can be like, hey, that's actually okay, and you can love yourself through that, versus like, hey, we really care about you and this is harming you.
Yeah, this is something that's toxic in your life.
That's the difference, I think, when you're walking that fine line, because it's a razor's edge.
Yeah, I'm on the same team there. I think that...
See, I was right.
Yeah. I think that people need to evaluate who they're surrounding themselves with.
Absolutely.
I think that when we try to, I don't want to say make change or progress or anything, when we try to just show up as our best selves, it's very common for others to show up and say, stop doing that. Stop showing up as your best self, because when you show up as your best self, you force the others around you to look into that mirror of you showing up for you, and they say, I don't want to examine me, I don't want to show up for me, and so they just try to tear you back down. It's a classic story of crabs in a barrel, right? You've probably all heard the crabs in a barrel.
Tell it.
You might as well. Okay, so when you put a bunch of crabs into a barrel, you don't have to put a lid on the barrel, because the moment that one starts to climb out, he's getting to the top, he's on everybody else's back, he's getting to the edge, one grabs his leg and pulls him back in. They literally can't get out. And I think that human nature is a lot like that too. So I don't know. I think it's really important to mention, be mindful of who you surround yourself with, because you have people around you that are going to tear you down. And when you start to look at yourself in the mirror and examine yourself and, try to, find these flaws, take ownership over them, and they're just like, no, and they just kind of bring you down. Like, you're going to get stuck.
Is this where you tell us you don't want to do the podcast with us anymore?
Yeah,
because we're just going to prank you every time.
All I've been thinking about this whole time is we have to apologize to our Cancer listeners for the crab comment.
What crab comment?
I have an astrology problem, everyone who's listening. Okay, never mind. Moving on.
I don't think we can move on from
that. Yeah, I don't.
Because Cancers are crabs.
Oh, okay.
Zodiac sign.
I didn't know that.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, I should know that. I feel really terrible, actually.
Yeah, you should.
I'm so curious if the listeners could guess our signs based on the way we're talking on the podcast.
Definitely not.
I don't know.
You're a wild card.
Let's not tell them, because once I get that email set up, we'll do it. I would love to, because then we can read people. I think, but the caveat is they
She's
have
stuttering.
to.
She's excited.
Why.
I'm too excited. The caveat is they have to say why. So we think you're this because this. So.
This is just now a roast me episode. So if you could just email us things that are funny, that'd be great.
Okay, I have to share this really quick thing, not to keep pranking you, but remember the time we did those personality tests, and then we each had different. Obviously, we have different personalities, and we were really dominant in the personality chart that came back. And then we each read our own traits. And I was like, oh, yeah, perfectionist. Oh, yeah, huh? And you just kind of had to roast yourself. And then you were reading yours, and you were like, argumentative. I am not argumentative. And Nina, I think I peed my pants.
Oh my God.
That was like one of the funniest.
That was pretty funny. What was yours again? It was
Oh, the funny thing about mine was that I cannot pick like where to eat to save my life. Like I just couldn't do it if you paid
yours
me.
was
I mean, we've taken a lot of personality tests.
it's not
first
it
of all.
wasn't indecisive.
it's not agreeable, but there's a different word for it. What was the word?
Amenable?
No.
Okay,
No.
nobody
Come
even
on.
knows what
No,
that
yeah,
means.
nobody
I don't
knows
know what
that
that
word.
means.
No.
It was something about like agreeable or indecisive or something.
And you're like, I don't know if I'm agreeable or not. We're like, you're like, yeah, sure.
I like to go with the flow,
Yeah,
everybody.
Yeah.
that's why everyone loves to hang out with you.
No, but okay, that's like okay. I'm gonna bring it home with some.
Okay,
Let's
bring it home.
Let's bring it home
for the
like,
one person who's
This has been a shit
remained-
show,
Yeah,
so-
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Last
Last
wrap
person
it up.
standing. No, like that was at a moment in my life, and I'm still going through this, where it was hard to accept the parts of myself that I didn't like. Right? I am sometimes frequently argumentative.
I'm gonna
I am
keep my mouth
sometimes
shut.
frequently argumentative, and it's hard to take those parts of yourself and accept them. But and I think that's a huge part of again, like being able to show up for yourself is taking a moment to become aware. And like, I think if everybody's out there and they're wondering what that means, it's stopping, it's sitting, it's checking in with yourself, it's asking yourself questions and listening to the feelings. A good friend and a mentor of mine says, sometimes you got to lose your mind to find your heart. And I love that because it's so important to just get the mind out of the situation and really connect with your heart. But, do that deep work, like check in with yourself, get the feeling going. Decide if it's something that you need to take ownership over internally or something you need to communicate externally that you're needing to take ownership over, right? And then find those pieces that you just are having a hard time with and accept them, right? I think it's so important that people hear that message.
One of the things I love to tell myself is the only way out is through. And it's like there's this little book. There's this book I used to read when I was a little kid, and it's all about going on a bear hunt. I don't know if anybody is familiar with it. It's one of my favorite books. But this little family gets together, and they're going on a bear hunt, and they're going to catch a big one. And they're not afraid, and that's literally the lines from the book because I have a really weird memory, and I'm sorry, everyone. But
the book is definitely in your house.
They find these. There's a lot of. Anyway, they find these obstacles along their path, and they're like, well, we can't go over it, we can't go under it. The only way we can go is go through it. And I think that when you are having awareness and when you're making those realizations about yourself, that's how you win.
Yeah.
That's how you get to the next level. That's how you peel back the onions and we go, oh, that was the old version of me, and now I'm moving on to the next. And then we continue to peel those layers is by having that awareness, because that's the only way out is through. So like, you can't be like, I don't want to be selfish, I'm just going to ignore the fact that I'm selfish sometimes and just move on. Like, no, you got to be like, okay, and it can be a positive thing to get to know that and move forward through it.
And fair warning, growing and looking at yourself in this way, it's scary, it's challenging, it's painful. And you end up, like you said, the only way that I was through, I sometimes visualize, I visualize myself at this like crux where you're like standing in front of like a wall of flames and you're like, do I go through or not? And guess what? Every time you go through, you find this version of yourself that you love a whole lot more and you hate a whole lot less. And I think it's so important to do, but it's no question, it is painful work. It's hard work.
I had this mentor one time. She was like, okay, tell me all the things you're feeling worried about today. I think I listed.
Do you have enough time?
I think I only booked you for an hour. So I listed a number of things, and then she said, okay, tell me the thing you're feeling most anxious about tackling. And I said, this thing. She goes, great, we're going to start with that. She was like, the thing that's causing you the most trigger or the thing that's causing you the most anxiety, we're going to actually go there first. We're not going to avoid that.
That's a beautiful tip.
And so now when I get real anxious, I'm like, oh, I have to deal with that first. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it for sure. So, well,
but you get better at it, right? You get better at it over time.
You do.
You do. You get better at it over time
You
because
do.
you realize the first few times you're doing this, you realize first you feel like it's not going to be okay. And then you get through and then you go, oh, I'm still okay. In fact, I feel better. And if you get that a couple times, then you start to not be afraid of it anymore. Right. And you start to almost look forward to it, even if it's examining something that you don't want to examine. You're opening that door that you may not want to open, but you're like, I got to go in. It's nature. It becomes your nature to grow and progress and become the best version of yourself.
Hell yeah.
So don't be scared, right?
Well, I think we should end on that note for anyone who's still with us. Today was a wild ride,
Quite
but
interesting.
hopefully people are available for this.
I'll be in my next Thai massage.
He actually has another one starting right now, so we got to cut this short.
We got to cut it short. Sorry, guys. Well, we hope to see you guys next week, and have a great week, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye.